Bienvenidos una vez más a un programa más de Hablemos de Real Estate con Carlos Amaya. Ahora nos vamos a relacionar con real estate, familia y finanzas en los Estados Unidos. Hoy tenemos otro programa en inglés. Vamos a hacer el cambio en este momento, una invitada súper especial. So we have an English-speaking guest today, which is an amazing person, someone that I really admire. And she is going to tell us in terms of like, how can we teach ourselves, our family, our people that surround us, and especially our kids in terms of like how to create wealth. And she has an amazing story. So stick with us. We're going to be back in a few seconds. En Hablemos de Real Estate con Carlos Amaya, creemos que la familia es la base de la sociedad. Por eso, nuestra misión es proveer información y herramientas a la comunidad latina de cómo lograr la libertad financiera a través de bienes raíces. So I'm really excited about today because we have a great guest. It's a person that has, first of all, an amazing person, has a beautiful family, has a beautiful heart. At the same time, she's a teacher and she teaches people in terms of her school. And she's been there for a long time. She can tell us about it. She's a real estate investor, and then she has created a movement in her community in terms of like investing in large multifamily. So for me, it's a pleasure to introduce our guest today, Francesca. How are you, Francesca?
I'm great. How are you, Carlos?
Excited to have you here. You're one of those guests that I want to have for a long time, and I know we live so close by, which I should have asked you a long time ago, but now we have you here, so it's a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time and stick with us for a few minutes and just share your story.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. So did you live here in Westchester County? How did you get into real estate? What do you do? What are your background? I know you have similar stories. I don't know if I shared with you before in terms of like realization and aha moments and mindset shift, but I want to hear from you first, and then we can just talk about it.
Sure. So my name is Francesca, and I'm from Westchester County, New York. I am a mom of two beautiful children. I'm the wife of my lovely husband, Jim. And I'm also a teacher for 24 years. So I want to just get into how did I get involved in real estate? Well, being a teacher, we have a certain mindset, and the mindset is, get a job, become a teacher, and work for your pension, maybe put some money in your 403b, and retire, hopefully with Social Security, right? And so that's our mindset. But we could see now all around us with inflation going up, and also with we're living longer lives as well, that I don't know how long that will last me or even any of us, right? So it was a mindset shift that I thought to myself, I need something different, and I just can't rely on my pension. And they say like your retirement years are your golden years, right? So I want it to actually be my golden years and live in abundance and not in scarcity. Because I've seen a lot of people go into retirement and then come out of it because they don't, they have a scarcity because they think their money's going to run out. So that was one mindset shift for me. But it really wasn't until 2018 when I had some health issues and I had to have surgery. And so, I had the surgery and I was supposed to recover for 4 weeks. But in my fourth week of recovery, I actually had some complications. So I ended up back in the hospital, and I didn't know what was happening. And I would just remember being in the four walls of a hospital and thinking to myself, there's got to be there's so much freedom outside these walls and so much opportunity, right? That I felt like I needed to do something more with myself. But then fear set in. And the reason why fear set in was because, I was a teacher. I only had so many sick days. And I had allotted sick time for my first surgery, but I didn't know how long it would take me to recover from my second. And would I have enough sick days to get me through? So, and that's where fear set in. Will I be able to make ends meet if I don't go back to work in time? So that's when I had an awakening. I was relying on one source of income. I was relying on just my job. And it was like, I don't want to just rely on that. And so because of that, I needed to find another way besides retirement and besides, if God forbid you lost your job or if you became ill, whatever it may be, right? You still have a lifestyle to live. You still have bills to pay. So how are we going to do that? And you know, interestingly enough, I did have something that I did have control over, and I did have one rental property at the time, and it was giving us passive income. We were making money while we were sleeping and while I went to work, or if I wasn't feeling well, I still made money. So it was like, how can I do that multiple times? Like, how can I take that one unit and go bigger, right? But it's not easy, right?
Yeah,
But because it's something you need to learn. So
sure,
yes, I listened to podcasts just like yours. I read books. I did all that. But now what else? I needed something else, right? And so that's where I hired a mentor.
sure.
Um,
So
and
before we get there to the mentor, because I really want to
yeah,
hear the whole story to the
sure.
mentor. And something that caught my attention, you said some great things in this just a couple of minutes. And you said something like that was fear. And I had a guest yesterday. He was an engineer. He got like 2008. A lot of people got fired in his company. He was one of the few that didn't get fired, but he got that fear. I might be next. And
Mhm.
in my case, I don't know if I mentioned when we met a couple of times, we have a similar situation in terms of my health. I have multiple surgeries, and I do remember when you were telling the story, just being like after the surgery, when you recover and you're being by yourself, and you have all the lights and the nurses coming in and out, and they check and everything. You have enough time to think, and then obviously they give you the control for the TV, but there's all the things you don't want to watch. So you start listening to yourself and podcasts or whatever it is, and start like having a realization. And in my case, we're like, I might die, and what's gonna
Mhm.
happen with my family? What happened with at that point, because I tried to get a life insurance too late after I got my first MRI, which was like 2011. I didn't have anything besides my great job that I have at that time, but obviously they will replace me once I was gone. So that's where I started investing in real estate, even though I was in the industry since way before that. So it was great when sometimes we need those push that God or life give us a push,
Mhm.
and you are made for more than that with what you do right now. But at the same time, we have to make the decision. And you mentioned something like a lot of people realize that with the inflation and everything's hard to retire. Some people come out of retirement because they can't support themselves. H- Good that we're living more longer. That's great, but the system is a structure for you not to live that long, because then you run out of money. And that's the sad part. I think that people said the American dream is like buy a house in the suburbs with the car garage and everything else. But I think the American dream is to retire with dignity right now. Be able to retire and have like just golden years, what you said before. So this is an amazing in terms of have the abundance mentality, because sometimes well, okay, I'm talking about my community and you as a teacher, we don't have that. I mean, we just want we think we were doing the right thing in terms of getting a job and everything else, be consistent and just plan for the future that way. But unfortunately, that recipe doesn't work anymore. So I'm glad. And obviously, a lot of people I listened to this and said, I get it, but not that many people take action. So let's go back to your first property. So you were working on your amazing husband, and then you had your first rental property. How did you find it? How come you guys decide to buy the property? How much you guys pay for it? What was the cash flow? And then we go towards the okay, that's fine. I want to multiply this. I need a mentor. And then how did you guys end up getting the mentor? And how did you guys how was the process moving forward? But let's start with the first one, because not that many people have rental properties.
Yeah,
They do have the income, they have the qualifications, they have the credit, but they don't want to deal with tenants. They think it's a nightmare. So that's what I'm curious in terms of your position from like a school teacher and your husband working as well. What was the decision? How did you find it? And just a little bit about the numbers.
sure. So I'm
If
gonna go
you
back.
don't mind.
No problem. I'm gonna go back a little bit. So in 2002, my husband and I bought our first home, right? And so when we looked for our first home, we wanted the ugly house in a nice neighborhood. So we found that, and we rehabbed it throughout the years, and we made it a beautiful home. And interestingly enough, the interest rates at that time were pretty high, right? I want to say they're probably 7%.
I love that you said that because I remember when I bought my first was 2004 with like six and a half, six and three quarters, and I
Yeah.
thought it was a good deal, and it was a good deal at the time. So that's why people right now say it's at the end of the world because we're around the sevens. That's not true. If you check the 80s, it was like 18%. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right, right. So we found our first house. We rehabbed it, throughout the year, through a couple of years. And as you move, as the years go on, equity does happen in your home. So but before that, before we even cash out refi our house, we thought we'd buy a vacation property. We didn't do the right things,
You
and that's
deserve it. You deserve
we
vacation.
deserve a vacation property. And so that's what we did. We bought one in Florida back in 2000, brand new place in 2007. Okay. Now, we all know what happened in 2008. Not the best timing, I'll tell you right now, but we made it work. So we were able to, and interest rates are very high then too. There was 6.5% for the place in Florida. So, but we were using it as a vacation rental, right? So we didn't use it often as much as we wanted to. Our kids were getting older. So we said, well, why don't we rent it, right? It wasn't cash flowing that well because the interest rates are so high. But the beauty was the interest rates started to come down. Unfortunately, in Florida, in certain developments, banks wouldn't touch those properties. They would not cash out refi on those properties because they weren't completely full, especially that it was brand new. People were not filling the units, right? So we luckily we had our home that had gone up in value. So we were able to cash out refi our home, bring our interest rate from 6.5% to 3.5%. So now we're able to buy the place outright and now cash flow. Okay, so that was our first. We learned a lot. It wasn't the best decisions we made, but you know what? That's how you learn. And so we learned a lot.
And I love that you said that because people wait for to make the right decision, the right best. And some of us we didn't. We didn't do it either. We bought a co-op in New Rochelle, and then we decided, this is not working properly. Obviously, we lived there; it was great. It didn't appreciate much, but we started. Sometimes it's better to start now with a great deal. Obviously, you don't have a horrible deal, but
Right.
just take action because so many people right now, especially, they want to wait until the perfect time, and the perfect time never come. What in Florida? I'm just curious. Where
It
you
was
guys in?
Boynton Beach, Florida.
Where?
Boynton Beach,
Okay.
which is right outside of West Palm. So it was a beautiful place. And like I said, this was a great opportunity. I mean, in hindsight, that we learned from. Um, we learned to be, out of state landlords. We learned what it meant to try to pivot and cash out refi to try to make things work. So we did learn a lot from that one property. So once we were able to cash out refi, then we saw the power of, first of all, the power of leveraging our home, right? Of the property value going up, the power of cash out refining it, and also the power of cash flow, what that meant, right? So, and being a landlord, we learned that. We learned a lot from this one property. So that was our first. So we did like the cash flow. So it was like, okay, now how can
All of us do.
yeah, we all do, right? It's like I didn't do anything for this. This is great.
Oh
So
no, you did. You did. You took action. You put your money. I mean, you did.
right, that part we did do, but I mean, every month I was getting paid and I wasn't doing anything for it. So that was a great thing.
Mhm.
Um, so it was like, okay, so we had this proof of concept. It was actually accidentally. We became landlords, accidental landlords. But we had this proof of concept and it was like, okay, how can we do this bigger, right? Um, Now you could try to do it on your own. You could listen to podcasts all you want. You can read books all you want. The main thing is to take action, right? That's the main thing. But when I'm going to go really big, I really need to learn from someone. I need to learn from someone that has been doing it. Um, and I just felt like investing in myself was the best thing at that moment. So that's what I did. That's what Jim and I did. We invested in ourselves and we joined a great community, Jake and Gino. And they became our mentors. We had coaches. We created a wonderful network of people. And from there, we got into larger multifamily. We found partners in there. Our first one was we started as a syndication. We started as LPs, limited partners. That's how we started first. And if people don't know what that is, it's where you invest alongside a sponsor, someone that you trust, someone that has a track record, right? So you invest with them and create a cash flow for yourself without doing anything. So that was our first earn while you learn, is what I call it, right? Like, why not try that? And of course, with the right people, though. And so we did. And so that worked. And we learned what they did, like what it meant, what a syndication looked like, how they treated their customers, or their investors rather. What they, what it looked like to have whatever, if they had webinars. So it was all stuff that was unknown to me. And so I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, no, yeah, I just can make a comment real quick. Usually podcasts, bigger podcasts, like almost 99% of people that we have in the show been listening to bigger podcasts and all different other materials that are online, and they have the same formula. The house hacking, you have the bird, then you might do like a short-term rental,
Mhm.
and they just are growing that way. Then you have an X number of units, and then you want to grow up, and then you go to like 20, 40, and then what you guys are doing right now. But you guys like skip that. I mean, you guys decided, I'm gonna go bigger. How did you guys come up with that decision? Because usually the next step with your story, like, okay, we have a rental property, it's cash flowing in Florida. Okay, let's do something around my area. Let's find like a duplex, a triplex around here. Might not be cash flowing, so let's go to Connecticut. Let's go to Jersey where the numbers look better. It's a lot closer. It's not in Florida. I can drive an hour and a half, and I can send Jim there for just to take a look of the tenants and just grow that way. So when did you guys decide, and how did you guys decide? I want to go a lot more bigger. I don't want to do the duplex, which is the normal. I mean, that's how we did it. Just
Mhm.
going to, because we didn't know any better at that point. So how did you guys decide to go large? And how do you guys decide to go with the group that you guys belong to?
Yeah. So the reason why we decided to go larger was because we noticed what it meant to have one single rental, and when it was empty, we were 100% empty. So it was like you needed enough cash flow, saved reserves to make it float that property until you put another tenant in. And then we thought duplex, yes, but then you're 50% empty when you're empty. So yes, you could do that, and that's a great way to start. But we learned that when you buy larger, it's buying a business, right? So whatever the property is making at that time is what it's worth, right? So, and if you could make that business better, right? If there's opportunity, then why? Then it's that's a golden egg, right? That you're able to make that business better. When you're doing residential, you're basically, it's not a business. You're not buying. You could make it into a business if you buy multiple of them, but it's not as scalable. With the larger multifamily, you're able to create different avenues of income through it.
Yeah.
So in order to go to scale, we had to go bigger, and so that's why we chose that.
And
Um,
I love that you mentioned it, because we mentioned it multiple times here, that the economy of scale, and the example that you just gave, when you have like a single family house and the tenant is gone, it's 100%. Even when we have like a duplex, triplex is 50 and 33% of the income, and it's hard to scale. If you want to have that, and we have someone a couple weeks ago, he said, you know what, I made the numbers. I needed like 40 properties to become financially free, or independent, and then it's going to be how many tenants plus how many roof, how many furnaces, all those things. Hard. I mean, you can scale it. Yes, you can put systems and everything else, but it's a lot harder in
mhm.
terms of like just going big and just have like you just buying the business, which is great. So you guys decided, okay, we want to go big. And how did you guys find the group? The obvious, you guys are, I mean, super involved. You have a meet up here in the area. We'll talk about that later. But how do
Mhm.
you find that group? How do you guys? I mean, did you interview a lot of the groups? Because it seemed like it was a match from Made in Heaven. You guys are so well placed in there. I mean, you personify the environment and everywhere you go. So how do you find it?
Yeah. So funny thing is, I was listening to Bigger Pockets one day, and that was my go-to podcast. I listened to Bigger Pockets, and on Bigger Pockets, I hear this New Yorker. Usually on Bigger Pockets, you hear a lot of people from the Midwest, down south, and then I hear a New Yorker. You're like, oh
Yeah,
my,
and when that happened, you're like, man, yeah, that's true. They can do that down there. I mean, you can't do that here. I mean, obviously, the numbers, the prices, and everything. So yeah, so when you hear someone on your area, okay, it is doable. Someone
right.
from
So
here.
I hear this New York, and I'm like, who is this? Let me listen a little bit more. So, he's talking about Westchester County or Putnam. He's talking about the counties where I'm living. And I'm like, okay. So believe it or not, which I didn't realize, the gentleman that was speaking was Gino, and he had a restaurant that was right near my home. And he had left the restaurant in this interview he was doing, and he went big, right? He went big, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize he was doing that." I really loved his. I really missed his shrimp franchise and all that good food that he made. So then I realized he had a podcast, and I was listening to his podcast. And it really was him that put the mindset in me of going larger too, because it was like you can go smaller, but it's just as much work as if you did smaller and go larger. So it's the same amount of work, right? You just need more money. Um, so I'm listening to this, and I'm listening to his podcast, and so then I go down to his conference, which is down in Orlando. He at the time it was Multifamily Mastery 3. This was his third one. And after that, it was just like, and I never knew him. I just went to his restaurant. I never knew who he was. Um, and I met him, and I met his wife, and I met his children, and I saw it was family, and they were all working. And that's what resonated with me. And it was the family environment, but also the love and care that they had for their community. They didn't even know us. I mean, he knew I was from New York, but he didn't know me. But it was a warm feeling. And so that's when we decided, Jim and I, to join Jake and Gino. And it's been the best decision we ever made.
I know, definitely. I mean, and while all of this was happening, you're still teaching. You're still teaching to today.
Yeah.
So how is that it? How is that just going to work? Like initially you said before, I mean, I was like concerned about like my sick days and everything else. And like maybe if God forbid something was wrong with the surgery, you might end up with living with just only one income, which has
Mhm.
been. And how was that process? Or how is that process been since you been start investing, going to the conference and everything, like those all those big deals, and it's still teaching? I mean, do you have any plans to like start teaching in the near future, or how will that switch change your mind in terms of the how did you see your job? Sometimes we see our job like, okay, I have to go because I get paid, but it reached to the point that it seems that's what happened to you. You go there because you love to do it, regardless. Obviously, you want to get paid, but you already know you have something else on the side.
Yes, yes. So I want to say, like, having the passive income that we have now, a lot of times I think when we go to work, it's like, oh, I got to go to work. It's not, you feel like you got to do it for a paycheck. Yes, we do it for that. But now that I have passive income, um, and it's a freeing feeling to go to work, right? I'm going there. I am going there for income, obviously. I have 2 kids in college, so I definitely still need the income. And real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. It's over time, right? It happens over time. So, but it's such a freeing feeling, and I do love the children. I go there for them. I do love them. I do love their mind. I love educating kids. Um, and so but it's not like that feeling of I don't want to be here. Like I have a different mindset now. Ever since what happened in 2018 to me with my health, no matter what I do, right? It's a freeing feeling, right? It's just being able to be on your own 2 feet and be able to going to work too has looked different for me. It doesn't look the same. And so I am grateful for it. So yeah, so that's how I feel. I live in gratitude. I'm grateful for being able to go to work. I'm grateful for my investments. It's just life is beautiful, and it's a mindset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. When we have the situation with our health, then you realize that we take things for granted. Then
Mhm.
but sometimes like happens, and then you go back like, and you can lose your sense of purpose to the work you do, and then you have to remind yourself that if we here, God give us like second, third, different
That's right.
opportunities is because of the reason. So, what grade do you teach? I forgot to ask you.
Well, I teach English as a second language.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah,
you can be my teacher now. Okay.
I can
It's true.
yes. So I teach,
You
I'm
say you say yes.
yes. You do great. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So you teach English as a second language?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
I have a lot of Spanish speaking children.
I'm sure. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So thank you. Thank you for what you do, because definitely we need it. big in our communities. Um, so let's talk about the impact that you're having with your kids. You have a meetup, and I saw them. Obviously, unfortunately, at times it doesn't work because I have a mastermind almost every Wednesday at 9 p.m. We'll move it
Right.
to 8, so it's hard to get there. But the times I've been there, I mean, it's growing. But your kids are involved, and also you wanna try to um, educate the community. Obviously, like I said before, you have to educate yourself first to be able to educate the community. But
Mhm.
you have that lot of sense of responsibility in terms of the kids,
Mhm.
not only yours, everybody else. So how do you do that right now? How do you see how receptive they are? And in terms of the school system, as you know, isn't that much material, although the last couple of years I see some changes. But
Mhm.
like in terms of like teaching our kids essentials, in terms of like finance, in terms of like preparing them for life. But obviously later on prepare them for invest as well. So how do you do it, and how do you see the reception?
Yeah, so with my own children, I mean, there was also a pivoting moment for me when my kids were in high school thinking about college. So it was just like, okay, what are you going to do with your life? You know, you're going to go to college. It's not cheap, right? So we have to figure out what path we're going to take here. And it's not necessarily you have to go. It depends, right? No, it's not for everybody. But they ended up going, and so it was like, okay, you're going to go to college. You're going to get a job now. You're supposed to get a job, you're supposed to save some money, but now what are you going to do with the money you save? So I felt a responsibility too to learn that and to teach my children what they can do with that money, because we're taught put it in a 401k. And we see what's happening right now with that. I mean, can you really rely on that for your retirement? And so is that what you want? You want to be able to like not be able to sleep at night. That's how I felt. I had my money in my 403b, and I felt like every time the stock market went up and down, I just felt like nervous. Like, is this going to still be there? So, what can you do other than that? And so it was about learning and teaching myself, but also being able to teach my children how to create passive income for themselves.
Mm.
Love your job, do your job, do whatever you want, like enjoy that. But at the same time, we always know that that's never enough, right? How can you have choices in life and create passive income, maybe even to supplement your income, and have a choice if you do get let go or whatever it may be, but also live within your means. I think that's very important. I think a lot of times we have lifestyle creep, we make more money, but we don't live within our means. So it's about teaching my children that as well. And so that happened a couple of years ago. And so when we did join Jake and Gino, we made a couple of investments. We had our children join us alongside us and invest along with us. And so now they see what the power of passive income is. So now, my daughter's going to be buying a car soon. So now she knows she has a little loan. Her passive income, she's not working, can pay for that car loan. That small little loan she took out, but it can pay for that car loan. Like that right there is just a lesson in itself of what passive income is. And I'm hoping that that will give them the drive after they get out of school to figure out another way to create passive income for themselves. So they are getting a taste of it. So that's how I have incorporated my children in the investments, and to learn about that. As far as children at school, like I like to fill their minds with financial education. Last year, I had started a financial literacy and entrepreneurship club. There was an opportunity to create a club at my school, and so, I asked my principal if that was a possibility, and so we did it. And I used Jake and Gino's program. It's called the Personal Finance Academy, and I picked some things out of there for children to learn, because I think a lot of times, not a lot of times, we don't learn this. We don't learn whether it's getting a credit card, right? I think we think it's free money. When you go to college, the first thing they want you to do is you can get a credit card. And it's because you're a college student. College students don't have jobs, most of them, not all, but most of them. Some of them, I should say. But what do you do with that credit card? It's like it's not free money, right? So we have to learn that. We have to learn about income and expenses. And so, a credit card could hurt you or it could help you. It all
Mm.
depends, right? You could use it as a tool. And so it's important to teach children this. And so we did a lesson on that with the kids. And one kid said to me, "Oh, I got a credit card." And I said, "You do? What? What kind of credit card do you have?" Well, I got, it says Visa on it, and I got a credit card. And I said, "Oh, maybe it's a gift card, you know?" So, like right away, they think it's free money, right? So it's about teaching those skills that we need to learn how to budget ourselves, how do we make money, but how to budget, and how to fit in our expenses within our budget.
And I think as a father, that's our responsibility, to expose them, teach them. Obviously, sometimes it's not fun, because they want to do what their friends do, or what
Mhm.
the TV or social media try to promote, which is just credit cards. And for a period of time, I was working for a foreclosure defense attorney for like 10 years, and one of the practices they do was bankruptcy.
Mhm.
And a good number of those people that were filing bankruptcy was like young adults that just fill themselves with credit card debt, and they'll try to just to get out of it, and they weren't able to, and they're filing chapter 7, and then they had to recover and everything else. And when I was looking at that, I was like, they have so many great years, and they don't know the compound of time that
Mhm.
unfortunately they are not taking advantage of, because of this, because maybe they have a figure, a school. They teach them, listen, this is how things work. And even for adults, even for professionals, I use, in that case, I was involved for like attorneys and all different professionals making great money, like crazy amount of money, but they were like they're broke. I mean, they were spending all their money and even more. So that was great. That was great that you mentioned that, because sometimes, like, as parents, we think a school is doing whatever needs to be done for provide our kids with tools, and reality is still, I mean, school's a great resource, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong.
Of
I want
course.
our girls going on there as well, but at the same time, you want to try to lead by example, and I think that's great what you're doing right now with your kids. You just make them part of the deal, so they see the power of the cash flow and everything else, and hopefully they just take that and just grow whatever they want to do. And also, not everybody has to be a real estate investor full time. And that's key. Some people don't want to do this. Like in our case, it seems like Victoria, she might want to get a lot more involved. And Valerie, which is a 14-year-old, she might not. I mean, she said that, yeah, it seems like it makes good sense, but I want to do like in a passive way. I don't want to get as involved. It has to be with personality and everything else. And in terms of your kids, what are they want to be? What are they going to school for? What are their plans for the future?
Yeah, so my daughter's a junior and she's civil engineering.
Nice.
And yes, and my son is a sophomore and he's on the physician's assistant route. So yeah, so they're both, one's in science and one's in mathematics. So they're enjoying school and they're working hard. And we'll see where it goes.
Definitely. Let's talk about your meetup. School teacher. Obviously, is your passion. One of your passions. Real estate investor, mom, wife, and then now you're just doing a meetup, but that takes a lot of work and effort, and just put it together. So where the idea came from, and how is that working out for you? And are you doing it yourself, or do you have anybody else that's helping you with it?
Mhm.
Because I mean, so many times, yes, you learned about something, and then you start doing yourself, and like, okay, I'm applying what I'm learning, so that's fine. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but not that many people want to share and want to take the time to share, and then just do whatever it takes to try to impact other people's life, just to try to get them to do something similar, or even more.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was an idea in my mind and my heart, rather, right, that I wanted to start a meetup. There weren't any multifamily meetups in Westchester. If you wanted to go to one, you had to go down to the city, and it was just during the week. I wouldn't be able to do that. So I had it on my heart, and I was at an event. It's called MIH Mastermind event in White Plains, and it's funny how things work when you put something in your mind. And I'm standing around, and there was about over 100 people there, and I meet my co-host now, Sean Goodwin, and he was there, and we're talking, and so he's from Harrison, and so I'm like, oh, get out, I'm not too far from you, and so I'm like, I'd love to start a meetup, and he said, me too, and guess what? We started a meetup. So ever since I forget what year that was, maybe 2021, I want to say. Ever since then, we have had this meetup in. It was first in Harrison, and now we have it in Eastchester, New York.
Mhm.
Um, and I love it. I just love to be able to educate others, open up the mind of others. It's great to be in the room with like-minded people. And so it just it feels good. And we have speakers that come that educate you, maybe inspire you. So we have all different. We have from construction workers that became real estate investors, from to firefighters that became real estate investors, to some hard money lenders. That's going to be our next one. So we have lots of different people that come and speak.
Great. And when are you meeting right now? What day of the week? How often? And how big are the meetings right now? How many people usually come?
So our next one is April 26th. It's in no, is it 25th? I'm sorry, I forget now. It's April 20. It's a Tuesday. It's either the 25th or the 26th of April. It's on a Tuesday. This time it's on a Tuesday, not on a Wednesday. Um,
Wonderful. So I'll be there definitely. If
so
it's
we got
Tuesday, yeah. If
good,
it's
yeah,
Tuesday, yes.
yeah. So it'll be Tuesday at 7 p.m. and it's at Chow's restaurant. And so how long do we do it? We do it like we try to do it every 6 weeks. So it's like every other month almost. So that's what we try to do. Usually it's on a Wednesday, but this time it'll be on a Tuesday.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
And how many people usually come? Because the times that I was there, I was surprised how many obviously you have it was a decent sized room and it was full. I mean it was packed. So how many
Yeah.
people still showing up to the meetings?
Yeah. We could have from 25 to 70 people. I mean, it all depends on the speaker. We've had 70 people at one of our meetups. Marco Barbaro spoke.
I was
Um,
I was there.
you were there, right? Yeah. So we had a lot of people at that one. It all depends on who the speaker is. We could have 30, we could have 40. It all depends. Yeah.
Nice. So, what kind of advice would you give to like parents that are not teachers? Because something that caught my attention when I was prepping for the show, like the teaching part, because I was wrestling with that. Like Juliana was telling me for a long time, you're a teacher, and I love to teach, but in my mind. Don't not offense. I was like, I know teachers don't make a lot of money, so I'm a self.
You're right.
I'm,
You're right.
I'm a real estate investor. I'm a professional. I'm a salesperson. That you no, you're a teacher. But and then she used like Jesus. He was a teacher, so
Mhm.
you can be a teacher as well. So that's why we came up with the idea that we want to do something like this. We're able to teach and have our mastermind and everything else. So not that many people have that in their heart, to teach. I think it's a God-given talent.
Mhm.
Some people use it, some people don't. So in your case, for people that may not have it and they have kids, what are your advice for them to teach them or to guide the kids in terms of money? And what is the age? I mean, what is I know that it's not right age, but what is the age do you recommend when they're like teenagers, when they're like in middle school? What is your experience in terms of like, I mean, it doesn't have to be just a recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I think as soon as you can. Like if your child does something at home and maybe there's a chore, that they do where they can make some money and learn that, or maybe even they babysit. I'll give an example of my daughter, right? And my son. So my daughter babysat in high school. And so it's like she made money, but we always told her you have to save a portion of your money. You don't just take everything you make and just think you could go waste it at Starbucks or go buying smoothies. You're going to take it and you have to save some. And so she created a nice little nest egg for herself doing that. And she appreciated that, right? It's about delaying gratification. I think what we want to do is we want to give our children everything, or we want them to have everything. And then we put that on them even when they make money. We don't take it from them. I'm not saying I take it from her, but we're helping her, right? And helping my son. So it's about delaying gratification. I think that is something that in society we want everything instantaneous, and you can have it instantaneous because it's right at your fingertips or it's right on your credit card, whatever it may be. But we have to teach them that we can't have it right away. Let's save up some money for it, right? Let's not have to take all of our money and go get it and then you have nothing left, right? So it's about teaching those values of make money, but take a portion of it and save it, right? And then maybe you can even get into an investment eventually with it. So I think that's important to teach kids that, make it, but save it as well.
Yeah, definitely. As a community, and I'm sure you see that because you're an ESL teacher. Um, some of us might not have like a child, like in our previous life when before we came to the States, like we're able to have all the great things that we're able to accomplish here, or in materials and whatever we want to accomplish. So, in my community, I see that we try to give our kids as much as you can, because I think that we want to give. Usually, we want to give them things that we might not get when we're little. So that happens a lot. So that delayed gratification, that is huge. Not just for kids. I mean, for everybody else.
Mhm.
Just if we teach them, and we teach them when they're young, and especially because we want to make sure that they have a good relationship with money. You mentioned Starbucks. I mean, it's crazy about all those different kind of drinks and everything. I don't want to go in terms of the health, but like it's the crazy price and everything. And yeah, that's fine. You can have it once in a while, but not all the time. Because it's not good for your body, at the same time it's not good for your wallet.
Right.
But wonderful. So great having you here. I would like to have, just get to know you a little more in your personal life, if you don't mind. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you are not doing teaching, investing, meetups, all the great real estate conventions? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you have like a free time and you want to enjoy?
So with free time, I love to work out. I do love to walk. So I like to take care of my physical body during my free time. So that's how I spend that. Um, and so yeah, so and then I love to have a sense of gratitude. So I like to meditate as well.
Nice. Do you do that on a daily basis, the meditation, or whenever you have time?
And I do it every day.
Every day. Good,
Yeah.
good, good. So I'm trying to practice with the girls, like a daily habits, a tracker. So
Mhm.
yeah, the meditation is great. So how many minutes did you do? You do like a guided? You do like a what kind of meditation do you do? I'm just curious because I'm brand new on this. I'm just doing it for the
Well,
last
I
few.
don't do it where it's like you're I do a spiritual meditation, and
Oh,
that's what I do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nice.
And it could be, 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. So, yeah.
Perfect. Can you recommend us a book? Like you said, listen, if you have free time and you want to read something or listen to something. In my case, I mentioned multiple times, I'm not a good reader, but I'm a great listener. So I love
Mhm.
to listen. So what kind of book should I listen or read? In your case, if
I
you can.
think an amazing book is Think and Grow Rich. I could read that book every year. It's, the power of our thoughts. I just recently watched they did a movie on it, on Think and Grow Rich, a newer movie, and it's so amazing the power we have within our thoughts.
Yeah,
So I definitely recommend that book for
yeah.
anyone that's hasn't read it.
My wife was doing a series in our mastermind as a Think and Grow Rich for women. I don't know what is the difference, but they have one specific for women as well, only. So it's pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So how about a movie or a series? I don't know if you watch TV a lot or not. So do you have, I mean, any recommendations for us?
So whenever I put TV on, I'll be quite honest, I don't really sit down and watch movies. I don't have the stamina to do that, but I do have HGTV on in the background. I do like to watch the Fixer Upper shows. I've always loved that. So that's something I do enjoy watching is HGTV.
Okay, so with that in mind, how come you never did like a fix and flip, or like, because that happens a lot. Like a lot of people got into fix and flip, which is a great strategy. If you know how to do it, you have the time and experience, and you partner out with the right people. But unfortunately, so many people got burned, and they lost a lot of money because of the shows. And not because of the shows. They saw it was super easy. They did it like fix and flip Boston or whatever it is, and they make $80,000 in just 45 minutes. I want to do the same, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they make it look very easy, right? And I love remodeling. I love interior design, so that's the reason why I like watching it. But they make it look easy, and it's not as easy as it looks because you really need to know how to. It's the same thing with multifamily. You need to know how to buy the deal. You need to understand your market. You need to know how much you're putting into it. So there's an education behind it, and I was never educated in it, so that's why I never got into it.
yeah, and it's fine you mentioned that because tomorrow we're gonna have a Jay Scott. He's one of
Um,
the Big Packets hosts. I think Big Packets business, and they had a reality TV show at one point. And I
mhm.
was talking with his wife, and she said, you know what, they edited so much that it doesn't look like nothing like reality. Like even themselves were like, that's not how it is. I mean, because they record. I mean, I don't know how many hours they try to feel like 45 minutes only, but obviously, I mean, they do a great job because all of us are watching this kind of shows.
Right.
That's great. Okay, what is your differentiator? How come you're able to do all the great things that you're doing, and you're gonna continue doing and moving forward, and other people might not? So what is that it that you have that other people don't have?
I think everybody has it. It's a matter of finding it, right?
Using it
It's what's that?
and using it.
And
Find it.
using it. Yes, yes. So, I mean, the way I start my day, just like I said, I start my day with gratitude every day. Before I fill my mind with anything of the day, I fill my mind with the amazing life that I have, the gratitude I have for it. And I also fill up my mind with the word. I put myself in the word, my devotionals. Um, and I start in prayer. So that's what really helps me get through the day in a positive way. So that's, I think, the differentiator. If maybe a lot of people do this, I'm not sure, but that's my differentiator is being able to do those things, and that gets my day going.
Yeah, definitely. You have to talk to my wife. I mean, you know her already, but that's what she does. I mean, she's super. I mean, she can miss anything, but even at the gym. I was telling you before I met Sean at the gym early this week, and she does that. I mean, she does like I'm not sure about meditation, but she does a lot of the reading and like just praying and all those things. And it's just living gratitude is an amazing thing.
Mhm.
I have to
Yeah,
copy you guys. I'm trying to do it myself, but sometimes I guilty. Like I get busy and then I realize I should be grateful before I get busy. So
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
so where can we find you? If someone is listening to your story live right now or later, they're gonna listen to the podcast and say, you know what? She sounds like me. I mean, she's a teacher or she's a mom, she's a wife, and I want to invest like her. I want to learn in terms of like the meetup that you do. And I know you usually guest speaker in multiple podcasts. We saw a
Mhm.
couple to be preparing for this one. How can we find more about you?
Yeah, you could email me at Francesca at Niveau, Niveau partners.com. You could find me on Instagram, Francesca Apostolou, Apostolou is my last name. And LinkedIn as well, Francesca Apostolou.
Wonderful. Francesca, it was a pleasure. Definitely I enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully we'll do it again in the future. And it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you
Thank you so much.
for sharing some of your experience. Don't go away. I just want to say hi to you, but let me just close this out. And for all of you, thank you for being here one more time. Tomorrow we have another episode at 3 o'clock. We have Scott. He's a host of Bigger Packets business podcast. We're going to be talking about like numbers. Why it's all about the numbers and how, like Francesca said, we have to be intentional and we have to be prepared. We have to learn ourselves to buy it right. So you guys want to learn about that? We're gonna be live at 3 o'clock. And as always, just want to remind you that the family is the base of society. So our mission in life is provide family with tools to become financially free to real estate investing. Thank you, thank you everybody, and we'll see each other tomorrow at 3 p.m. Bye bye.